Hey guys, I'm here to talk to you about how to effectively practice. This is the thing that stops a lot of people from becoming as good as they can be on an instrument. And it's something that once a student learns how to effectively practice, they make as much progress as they would like because it's an easy thing that they have a better idea on how to do successfully. So, if we're taking a look at how to practice, it is important for you to remember that practice is an active thing. It requires planning, but it takes time with the instrument in your hand, playing things over and over and over again. That means that when you practice, you have to really listen and and kind of evaluate the practice that you are doing as you are doing it. And it is this practice, this repetition is what creates the pathways in your brain that makes it so that you become coordinated enough to do the actual skill that you need to. All right. Really important that practicing in this class means that there are things to understand. There are mastery checks that you're going to need to pass off at the end of every lesson. And you're going to need to, at the end of units, be able to play a playing test. Also, when you practice, it gives you a sense that you could do more today than you did yesterday. And you take time in practice to kind of go back and go, okay, well, I haven't played this for a while. And so now, with my new and improved skills, I go back and you can really see that you're doing even much better than you thought you ever could. So, the things that make practice difficult. Merely holding a guitar is not enough to be counted as practice. That's kind of just playing mindlessly. Practicing isn't mindless, practicing is thoughtful. And time, seriously, is the most inadequate measurement of success in practice. What a player does should be practice least. And I know some kids have a really hard time with that. I can play this song. I'm going to play it over and over again. Practice is for problems. Practice for when it doesn't work. And so it's really important that you realize that you should set things up. I haven't played this song before. I start to play it. After I'm done playing it, where are the problems? Now I practice the problems so that they're not going to be a problem, and then I try to put it back together. It might not come together after just one practice session, but that's okay. It's the repetition that will make it better. Make sure you are setting goals. If you have no idea what it is that you're trying to do, well, then it doesn't even really matter if you get there or not. So please, you should think about, okay, I need to do these 2 or 3 things, and they're short term. I would like to make sure that I can remember and know how to read the notes on the first string. And I know where they're located. That's 2 separate goals. And I can play them. That's 3 separate goals. That's something I could work on for the next 2 days and get better at. Medium term goals are like your practice, your playing test. I did learn how to play using the notes on the first string. And so after practicing for a week and a half, I'm going to check and see if I can take that playing test and then see what's there. Usually long-term goals, a lot of kids are like, well, I just want to play the guitar. So maybe set something better, like I'd like to play this song. So make sure you're not just practicing mindlessly. Make sure, like I said, practice is for problems. Make sure when you go through, you have a hierarchy. We talk about the count it, say it, play it method. I can count the rhythm. I can say the note names as I'm reading them off the staff, and then I can play them because I know where to find those note names on the fretboard. That's the best way for us to work through what we have to for this semester. I know how to play the chords. I know how to play the chords in this progression, changing from one to the other. Now I can play and change the chords at the correct time to fit the melody that I'm playing the chords for. Make sure you do this in a systematic way. Don't just start at the beginning and think, oh, well, I just made a mistake. I guess I should start at the beginning again. You are practicing making mistakes and stopping each time. Make sure, do you have everything you need? Are there people around you that are going to stop you from practicing well? Some kids think, well, okay, I'll just do all my practicing at home. You may not be in my class and not practice. And so if you need to move yourself to somewhere else, the seating is pretty flexible in my room. Once you get to the point where you've done the daily check-in, you can. Sometimes I have you sit based on what unit you're on. Sometimes I have you sit based on if you're having problems. And so, but make sure you're taking away all of those distractions. Can you count the rhythm? Do you know the note names? Do you know where they're located? Have you filled out your cheat sheet? This will all make so much more sense the more we get into this and we start to play. Okay, please, I already talked about one of the best practice strategies, the count it, say it, play it method. Please, doing it aloud. Some kids don't even, they just don't think that doing it is well. When people are starting to learn to read, a lot of times kids sound out words. That is a very good method to learn to read. And you're doing the same thing when you count it and say it, play it out loud. Some kids think, I can't do it unless I can do it fast. Well, if you can't do it slow, you can't do it fast. So slow down. And maybe you're like, oh, I don't know, this is like 3 lines long. So take the first musical phrase, or maybe you just do only the first line, or maybe you just see if you could play the first measure. If you break it down into smaller points, you can eat that whale one bite at a time instead of trying to do everything. If you can name the problem, then you can fix it. If you have no blasted clue why it's not working, then you're not going to be able to fix it. Sometimes that means coming and playing for me. Because if you play it for me, I could go, oh, these are the problems I'm seeing. And then you can now have a strategy for how to fix it. All right? Make sure that you're writing down a plan and you're being focused. When you get to class, the first thing you should do is tune and warm up. Warm-ups means that you play something that you've already played before, that you can play well and you can play easily. Focused practice that's the stuff that you're learning to be able to do. What worked, what didn't? What should you do tomorrow? Playing something just for fun is also an important part of practice. Make sure that you're not just, walking your way through and only playing the things that you like playing, or the songs that aren't even on the tests that we're going to be doing, because that will just be wasting your time. Waste your time at home, but don't call it practice. All right, please, faster is never better. Never, never, never. And great practice and great performance have very little in common. Remember that when you're doing a playing test, that's like you're going to perform for us. So there shouldn't be starting and stopping. You should play in a consistent tempo all the way through. But when you practice, that's not always going to be the case. There might be lots of starts and stops. You might just go back and do this measure 3 or 4 times before you feel like you can go on up. Our class is set up so that you can practice for about 2 weeks before you need to take the playing test for the unit. But anytime, if you're not constantly working through all of the stuff in that unit, you won't know when you're ready to play. Some kids in ukulele would watch the videos and then try to play the test, and then they couldn't. So then they had a hard time getting themselves going. It's because they forgot that in the practice, the pages that we covered in the videos, they should be practicing all of those songs every practice period. Then when you go to take the test, it's easy because the test comes from one of the songs that you've been practicing. If you haven't been practicing, it won't be easy. Please, practice is hard work. Don't try to make it anything else but that. If you're not working, then you're not practicing. Also, as you practice is how you're going to be every time you play. So make sure that you are practicing with the idea that the skills that you're doing are leading you to become a better player. Are you playing with good tone? What's up with your posture and positioning, especially left hand? Become a really good troubleshooter. What didn't work? What do I have to do to make it work? Make sure that you just are very intentional about how you're doing that. Please, this is the question that I had some kids who didn't really care and then just took the test and didn't even notice, and some kids who wouldn't ever take the tests because they couldn't play them perfectly. And that's just silly. Please don't make perfect the enemy of good, because mastery is being good. It doesn't mean that you're playing everything perfectly. And when I'm looking at something, I'm looking in 4 different areas. What's your tone like? Can you play the notes as they are notated? Do you play the rhythms as they are notated? And do you have the appropriate posture and positioning? You can make one or many mistakes in some of those things and still get 3 out of 4, which would be mastery. So please don't psych yourself out. If you find that you're one of those people who thinks that they are just not going to be able to tell, make sure you come play for me. And I will say, oh, go take the test. You are more than ready. If you can play the entire song in an even tempo without making a whole lot of pitch errors or rhythm errors, then take the test. It may not be perfect, but it'll be good enough. Okay, please, if the song crashes and burns when you play and nobody knows what you're playing, then that's a good reason to keep practicing, because that's just about it. Now, I know this video has gone on longer than it's twice as long as most of the videos I make. And it's because this one is super important. This is the piece that made a lot of kids not be as successful in ukulele as they could be before. Either they didn't practice, or they only wanted to practice just the test instead of practicing everything. And so then when they went to another song, they hadn't developed enough coordination because they were only playing one song the entire time. That doesn't make any sense. So please learn how to practice. Learn to love practicing, because that's the only thing that's going to stop you from becoming better. Good luck. Ask me any questions. See ya.